I had to stop recording. So I was finishing up talking about the 5-1. Let's look at that next roll my opponent got. Had I gone to the 4 point, like XG wants me to do, that double one is even better because they would have hit me on the 4 point with 2 and made the 5 point with 2 and had a very good structure and improved the connectivity and escape opportunities for this back checker that's now on the 2. Whereas by leaving that checker there and not directly tempting it with the 2, it's blocked by 4s and 6s at the moment. So I like checkers, opponent checkers on my 2 point instead of anywhere else. So, well, except on my 5. I don't like them on my 5. So, yeah, that's another thing about how staying back, it caused the opponent to play in a way they would have preferred not to. You give the opponent a choice and say, so after this, you get 1-1, or after this, you get 1-1. This would be the preferable time to get the 1-1. So I was happy to play with this strategy of trying to keep the opponent busy in areas of my choosing. So next roll is a 4-3. Now you can hit with this 4-3, but look how open that is. We've got no home defense, so it's a bit of a pointless hit, to be fair. So XG agrees with me to just add a checker to our anchor and then to complete making this point here with the 3. Remember, this checker wouldn't be there. This checker would be on the 4. Imagine after this whole sequence, the checker's on the 4. What do we do then? We'd have to come in with the 3 and play 8-4, then that check on the 3 is very well trapped. You just start making a whole nuisance for yourself. And I've avoided all of that by avoiding the 10-4 here. Alright, so let's get back with the action. I've made this point. I've put another check on my anchor. Okay, next roll is 6-1. I could escape, but better to build. So of course I build. Have a look at the win percentages that we have been hovering around in this game. So after the 5-1 we were 42, after the 4-3 we were 40, and after the 6-1 we're about 46. Okay. Even after the best play by XG's measurements, we're dropping to 37.5. So this is indicative of our position in this match. It's quite fragile. So we're working hard to try and change it, but yes, we're a bit under the cushion. So XG wants us to clear the 8-point here. But I don't like that at all, especially because we're slotting a deep point. And I don't want to even start thinking of making the 3-point. I don't want that to be the first point I make in my home board. So I've gone with 10-4 this time round because I do not have any other good 5-1s anywhere else. And again, the upside of this is that we do tempt the opponent to leave their anchor. They've also got this checker on their 23, so if we do get hit, we've got a target to aim at as well. So I really prefer this 10-4 over 8-7 and 8-3. I'd rather make the 4 point than the 3. All day, every day. So, even the best player according to XG, winning percentage from here is only about 37.5. My play left us on 36%. So it's all pretty close and to each other, but we're not really favorites in this particular game yet. But you know, this is backgammon, things can change. Our opponent gets a 6-2, so they take away what we're shooting at with any 6 on the 10, and now they remove the slotted 2-point blot that we could aim at. Okay, we get a 6-1 to play. So what do we do here? Because after 10-4 we don't have a good 1 to play, I took that out of considerations. XG says we should just slot the 3-point, but I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we'll have to cover these before we can take any aggressive or indeed positive action, because now these are a big liability. I preferred this. I was unable to duplicate any numbers, like, you know, for hitting on both. But again, I'm leaving this checker on the 9 because it is a teaser to try get the opponent off the 5. That's why I'm leaving it. And also, whilst it's there, it's still a builder, a potential builder or a potential point. For example, if I am missed, a 6 would take this checker I've put on the 15 and make my 9. And then I've got a little 4 prime going on. So I much prefer this over this. Then we revisit that theory that we opened part 1 of all this with here, where I was talking about we're trying to entice the opponent to play in areas where we want them to play. Let me just let my cat in. Come on, mate. Where have you been? Hey, you've been gallivanting. So, if we retain this idea we spoke about here and we use it now, this check on the 15 is enticing the opponent to hit from their 13. And that is something I want to encourage, not dissuade, because I'd like my opponent to create some separation between the main body of their checkers and their back checkers. So this is a viable idea and strategy to implement. This business of coaxing your opponent into abandoning connectivity. So that's why I've played this way. I've left the teaser on the 9 for the anchor on the 20 point or 5 point, what it is. And I've put a new teaser on the 15 point against the opponent's 13. Okay. What happens next? Opponent gets a 3. And they hit me there. And now this checker and this point and this position is now vulnerable. I am happy with that. I took a role that was relatively unhelpful, and I've caused my opponent to degrade their position. So they've hit me, and now I've got 5-1 to play. So I come in with the 1. Unfortunately, I can't close the 9 point, but the checker that I put there as a builder, I now use it. I make the 4 point. Fine, it's a point behind the anchor, but I have to start building points now. I don't have any yet. And if the opponent does leave the anchor and I attack, the more points I've got, the better. And it's the 4 point, it's not the 3, 2, 1. So it's still a reasonable point. And now I get to make it. Remember just now I was talking about the win percentages. So after that 5-1 with 36, then with 35, and now with this 5-1, we're getting back close to 36. Okay, so we're still hovering around the same ballpark. My opponent helps me now by making a mistake. I'm on the bar, and they thought it would be a good idea to close the ace point. And they've closed the ace point. Or was it the 2 point? No, they've closed the ace point. Yeah. To hit me after I'd entered. And that helps me a lot because that's 2 checkers dead. And because the 1 point is now made, it also kills the 2 checkers on the 2 point. Because they've got nowhere else to go now. So they cannot be recycled. That's it now. Until they get taken during the bear off, these 4 checkers are dead. I've got an anchor, so I'm still in the game. My opponent's got open checkers. This is a good move for me. It's taken me up from being a 36% favorite to win. And after this play, I'm now a 42. So my opponent's error or misplay has improved my winning chances by about 6%. So that's good. And I've got a 4-3 to play. So how can I play that effectively? Well, now I do hit with I come in with the 4, hit with the 3. Okay. My next roll, I'm still on the bar because my opponents come in and hit me. Yeah, they hit me on there. Okay. So I'm on the bar. I can only come in with the 4. What do I do with the 2? I play safely 6-4. Okay, great. Anyone can see that this is the best course of action now. What's my winning percentage? 52%. So I've gone from being 42 to being 52, and I'm still 52 after this. Okay. My next roll is 5-1. Again, what can I do here? I decide I want to start building points now. Especially because my opponent has a checker on the ace. My 8 point is not as valuable to me. I'd rather build a homeboard point so that I have more defense if I attack. I've got more points covered, so that's better defense. So I make the 3 point now. Now's the time I'll make the 3 point. XG suggested I just played to the 7, which, do you know what, it's not a terrible idea, but I'm happier to just do the 3 right now. So I'm not saying I dislike XG's play, but I don't mind mine either. Our win percentage is still 49, so we're hovering around the 50 now. My opponent gets a relatively bad roll of 2-2, and what it means is they have to play with their spares here and almost get them into home ground. So look now at this gap from these checkers on the opponent's 7 to their checkers on the 20. This is a big wilderness gap now that is going to cause an issue for them. I get 3-1, so I can't cover my 8, remake my 8 point. I don't really have too many options, so I put the checker on the 4 point. It's not ideal because if the opponent leaves the 5 point, I want checkers to the left of it so that I can attack it, not checkers afterwards. I've spoken already about making points behind the opponent's anchor. If it's avoidable, it would be good to avoid doing that. So now we come to a very contentious moment in this match, in this game. And that's my cube here. So my opponent has rolled a 6-2. Remember I was talking about winning percentages. So we were 51 after this 3-1. My opponent has just been forced to play their last free 6. And now the opponent has no 6s unless they leave the 20 point, really. And my winning chances after this play have jumped up to 60 now. Part is because of that reason. My winning percentage has jumped up to 60. So I'm looking at this now, and I see my opponents just had to play their 6-2. They've killed another checker on the ace point. They've got no 6s. They've got a separation between their front checkers and their back checkers. This is a problem for them. So let's talk about this further. I've got a little slide. Let's talk about the killing of the checkers first. So here's something I've put together to talk about this problem. This is a written explanation about why the killing of checkers is a bad idea. They cannot be used to build points, attack, you can't recycle them. So your offensive ability, your flexibility is diminished. And if you look at the circle bit here, like the stop sign I've imposed over the 23 and 24 point, my opponent's got 5 checkers that are buried or killed, which, let's use the word buried. Killed is a bit strong there. Got these 5 checkers buried. We only have 15 checkers. 5 of them are now inactive for my opponent. That is very positive for me. It only leaves them 10. You can't build a 6 prime with 10 checkers. So, my opponent's offensive abilities against me are significantly reduced because of these buried checkers. Let's talk about the secondary aspect, which is that connectivity between the back checkers and the front checkers. What I've illustrated here with this red arrow. Why is this important? Well, I've got some written diagnostic for you to peruse on this as well. When your checkers are connected, you can move safely without leaving blots. Poor connectivity increases the chance of being hit, which costs time and temper. Disconnected checkers restrict your choices, so you can be forced into making risky or inefficient plays. So this is the picture I'm seeing, and I know all those elements. I can see the buried checkers, and I can see the disconnectivity. I can also see the pip count. I'm 30 pips behind. But this is not a racing position. This is a contact position. So I do not take too much consideration of the pip count. That will change as we go along. I'm also thinking of the momentum. Remember, I've been verbalizing our winning percentages in the game. I've been verbalizing how here we're 36%, here we're 52%, 52, 49, 51. And now, at the start of this roll, we are 59%. So our winning chances were as low as 35, and now we're up to 60. I would call that momentum. The momentum in this game has shifted over the last few rolls. And from being the dog, or the underdog, we are no longer. It's the opponent who's now the underdog. And what does momentum actually mean, like in a backgammon setting? Well, I've also written something to illustrate that. I mean, feel free to pause the video here so you can read everything. But this is what I've put together regarding momentum. So I like the last paragraph the most, where it says, in essence, momentum represents the phase of the game where your gains compound and your opponent's choices diminish. And to me, that sums it up perfectly. We are getting better and stronger, and our opponent is getting worse and weaker. As we are rising up, their power is diminishing. And it's clear to see that from this position that we find ourselves in. We are in the ascendancy, and we have this momentum. So this is why I cubed now. Because there's only one way I can see this going realistically, and that's to my advantage. So I've cubed here and been given a huge punishment, 163. And I was very frustrated with it, because I can really see the positivity of where we're heading. So let's leave that for now, and let's look at the plays. So 4-3, so I come out to the 14. XG also agrees, that would be the right thing. We're coming at the outfield so that we can take control if the opponent decides to run. The opponent plays 5-1 like this, steps up so that they can escape from the 23, good idea, and 6-1. They bury another checker. So they had 5 buried checkers, now they've got 6. Again, reducing their flexibility, their efficiency, their attack, their defense. It's all diminishing. Like that momentum. As we're getting stronger, the opponent's getting weaker. I now get a 3-3 to play. So I play it as well as you'd expect me to play it. I come to 18. We no longer need to maintain this 4-point anchor. And I come to the 10. So it looks like that. Lovely. The opponent gets a 6, which is a roll I identified before I cubed. These are the rolls that are going to get the opponent in trouble because they don't have any spare 6s, loose 6s to play. So of course the opponent plays from the 23 because they've recently upgraded to avoid my bar point anchor, and they go there. But look at my outfield control. I can hit with 1s and 5s and 3-2. So that's 22 out of 36 rolls I can hit with. This was the danger that we identified when we spoke about connectivity, about this area of the arena where the opponent has got no presence and is extremely vulnerable. I own this. This is my area, and you are trespassing. So boom, I've hit it. I could have hit it any number of ways, but I've gone for this way because it gives me nice flexibility, and I love flexibility. So, what's our win percentage now after this 71%? You see, that momentum that we spoke about earlier, it's just been going higher and higher and higher. After the 3-3, it was 65, and now it's 71 nearly. Okay. 5-1. In the meantime, before the 5-1, the opponent's come back in with 1. They've had to play a 6 off the anchor, and finally they've left my 5 point, so I can attack it, and I get such a lovely roll to attack it with. 5-1. Look at that. Boom. How nice does that look? I've got a 5 prime, 1 on the bar, and I'm challenging this checker in the outfield. This is exactly how I saw things going when I cubed. I saw it going like this. Look at the pip count. It's 6 now, and we're about to roll and make it even. So that 30 pip count deficit that was there, it was only temporary. It was never going to last. This game was always going to get to this stage. I've got another document to show you. I've got another document. When your position in backgammon is solidly advantageous, you gain significant strategic leeway. You don't need to force immediate results or take unnecessary risks. A robust position allows you to maintain pressure, improve gradually, and wait for the right moment. Given enough time, the strength of your position will naturally create opportunities. This is what's happened. This is precisely what's happened for us. We were in a solidly advantageous position when we cubed. It didn't matter if it happened the next roll or in 3 or 4 rolls afterwards. We were going to get to a point like this where we're putting the final nails in the coffin. We were going to get here. Our position was robust. Our opponent's was limited because they lacked their flexibility, they had disconnectivity, they had buried checkers. Those are all bad ingredients. And if you're going to bake a cake with those kind of bad ingredients, you're going to get something that tastes like this right now. Sweet for us and bitter for the opponent. So, hey, this 5-1 was a lovely roll. Delightful. Mwah, tasty. I'm loving life now. We've jumped up to 91% with 38% gammons. That momentum has been snowballing from when it started a few rolls back. And I identified it after the 6-2. I was like, yes, now you are in trouble. Now things are going to go my way. And that's why I cubed. Okay, I might have been able to wait one more roll, but what for? I was sure how this would go based off experience and, just my general understanding of the game. I could see where this was going to go, and that's why I cubed early. And the great thing, you cube early, your opponent won't pass. They'll take it because they can't see what you can see. If you wait too long, you give your opponent the chance to get out of a bad situation. Let's have a look at that now. I'm going to take you to the position was it this one? Must be. Ooh, I've got so many here now. I forget. Right. This picture here was me showing you an example of when XG would have been happy with for me to cube. But in a position like this, with hardly any put count going for the opponent, they can see the difficulty. You are not playing XG as your opponent. You're playing a person. People get scared. People can sense momentum. If I can sense momentum going my way, can my opponent not sense that things are slipping away from them? If you wait too long to cube, you'll get passes in situations like this. Your opponents will give up and just let it go 1 point. I'm greedy. 1 point's not enough for me. I want more. So if you wait too long to cube, you can lose your market, especially against a human player, because they will sense that things are not going their way. So here, I think this was before the 3-3. Yeah, this is before I rolled 3-3, and I wanted to see what if I'd waited until this point before I cubed. I would still get marked nearly 70. It's still not a cube as far as XG is concerned. Even here. Then after the 3-3, before my next roll, which was 4-1, but before the roll, would this have been a cube? Because I mean, look, there's a block there for us to attack. According to XG, it's still not yet a cube. So we get the 4-1 after this position, and we hit this check on the 13. That's when XG comes in, well, not XG, my opponent, comes in with the 1-6, and they have to leave the 20-point anchor and go to the 11. And where's that picture? Here it is. So we go from being 69 no double to being 64 too good. Now we are too good to double. We were not good enough, and now we're too good. One sequence of events. Us getting the 4-1, the opponent getting the 1-6. There we go. Cooked our goose. We've lost our market. So, good thing for me, I've already pulled the trigger on the cube, because I'm going to win this and a gammon most likely. So this is what I wanted to talk about. It's recognizing these points and the significance of them, recognizing that the momentum has changed and it might not yet have reached its conclusion. You know, we are still 30 pips down, but we don't have to wait to only be 7 down and okay, now we can cube. You should be able to identify how things are going to progress, and then that gives you the opportunity to capitalize and for you to benefit from your foresight over your opponent's lack of foresight, because they don't see that actually they're in big danger here. So yeah, I really hope that I've managed to get this point across as eloquently as I'm capable of. We'll end up just winning a gammon in the end. It did get tricky because we rolled a 5-5 here. We got hit, and we got hit, but we got another 5-5, came all the way around. This 3-1 was a bit unlucky because we'd expect to at least get one checker off. It's only like 2 rolls that don't let us take a checker off here. So this 3-1 was a bit unlucky. But we got 6-6 here. You know, the opponents nearly saved a gammon, so it was good to get the double here and secure our 4 points. You know, so to me, this is a successful cube. It's I had that ability, I had that foresight to see the advantages of my position, and I capitalized on them. Okay, maybe I could have waited 1 roll, but this 4-3 doesn't change anything for me. The position's still the same. So if I'm going to cube here, I'll definitely cube here, and I'll definitely cube here. But I give a big opportunity to my opponent to drop the cube. So if I'm giving you the cube, I'm not bluffing. If I cube you, I want you to take the cube. It's not a bluff cube. I see good things in the future for myself, and I want to capitalize on that. So I want you to take my cube. So I don't mind cubing early, especially if the position is, what was that term I used in my PowerPoint? Solidly advantageous. Yes. When my position is solidly advantageous, it means that doesn't matter if the good things happen now or in a few rolls' time, the good times are coming. Celebrate good things, come on. However that song goes. Da-na-na-na. Okay, thanks for watching another video of mine. And I hope I've given you some ideas to think about and implement. Can I just pat myself on the back also on one more thing? Because I just want to show you that this disconnectivity that has occurred in this position, I want you to appreciate what I did to preempt this or to create this. You know, it comes from that play earlier in the match when I had that whole idea of tempting my opponent to hit me. Here, this, bring his checkers here. Get hit, go back. I left this one to get hit there. He made his 1 point, then he killed his checkers. Like, I helped my opponent weaken their position by teasing them and tempting them into doing things that benefited me. Instead of my opponent doing things that benefited them, they were inadvertently working in my favor as well. I will show you this concept in the future because I do use it quite often, where I try and entice my opponent to engage in battle with me on the part of the board that I want the battle to occur in. Alright then, yeah, thanks for watching part 2 of part 2. and I'll see you again soon, no doubt. Please do leave comments and stuff in the videos. Challenge me, ask me questions. If you don't particularly agree with something I've said, challenge me or ask me to clarify. I love talking about backgammon, and as long as it's constructive debate, I'm happy to talk with anyone. So, yeah, please do reach out. Much love.